Welcome to the quantum realm. Here is something that will stop your mind before it has time to argue. You did not find this video. This video found you. Not metaphorically. Not as a spiritual cliche. Literally. At the quantum level of how consciousness organizes itself into experience, the moment your attention landed here, something in the fabric of your reality selected this signal. And here is the paradox. The signs you've been receiving were never meant to be decoded. They were meant to be felt. Recognized not with your intellect, but with the frequency you already carry. Most people spend years searching for meaning in the signs they receive. The synchronicities, the numbers, the dreams, the sudden knowing. But what if the sign was never the message? What if you were the message, and the universe has been trying to read you all along? Before we go further, pause for just a moment. If something in that opening resonated, even slightly, your field is already responding. Like this video to lock the signal. Comment the word "open" to activate your observer state. And subscribe. Because what unfolds next is only visible to those who choose to remain aligned. This is not performance. This is a quantum anchor. Here is the illusion most people are living inside. They believe signs come to them from the outside, from a universe that is separate, distant, occasionally generous enough to drop a breadcrumb if you have been good enough, spiritual enough, or desperate enough to deserve one. This is the 3D identity program. It is the architecture of separation. A belief system so deeply conditioned that even the most awakened seekers fall back into it the moment life becomes uncertain. And inside this program, signs become a source of anxiety. You start hunting them, second-guessing them, wondering if the angel number you saw was for you or just coincidence, wondering if you missed something important, wondering if the universe has given up on you because the signs went quiet. But here is what the ancient wisdom of Hermeticism has always known, and what modern quantum mechanics is only now beginning to articulate in scientific language. The observer and the observed are not separate. Thoth, in the Emerald Tablets, encoded this truth thousands of years before particle physics could measure it. As within, so without. As above, so below. The universe does not send you signs from a distance. It reflects you. Your frequency, your coherence, your vibrational signature. Back to you in the form of patterns, events, and symbols. The quantum framework that dissolves the problem of seeking signs is this. You are not a receiver. You are a field. And signs are not messages. They are mirrors. When you understand this, the entire relationship between you and reality reorganizes itself. Let us go deeper now. In quantum mechanics, there is a principle called wave function collapse. Before a particle is observed, it exists in a state of superposition, simultaneously holding all possible positions, all possible states, all possible outcomes at once. It is pure potential, pure frequency, unformed. The moment an observer enters the equation, the moment attention is directed, the wave collapses. One possibility becomes real. Now, most people hear this and think, so I just need to observe the right things and my reality will collapse into what I want. That is still the 3D program talking. That is still the belief that consciousness is a tool you wield rather than the field you are. Here is the Arcturian Council's transmission on this, translated through the language of quantum physics. The quality of your observation determines the quality of what collapses. If you observe from fear, from contraction, from the wound of "I am not enough," the field collapses into confirmation of that frequency. The signs you receive will look like warnings, like absences, like silence where there should be sound. If you observe from coherence, from the expanded, settled, aligned state of your true vibrational signature, the field collapses into resonance, into synchronicity, into what the Arcturians call harmonic field recognition. This is not wishful thinking. This is how frequency organizes reality at the subatomic level. Sophia consciousness, the divine intelligence embedded in the structure of existence itself, does not speak in straight lines. It speaks in patterns, in repetitions, in the feeling of something landing in your chest before your mind has words for it. The signs you have been receiving. The numbers, the dreams, the stranger who said exactly what you needed to hear. These are not coincidences. They are coherence events. Moments when your internal frequency briefly aligned with the field strongly enough to produce a visible echo in the external world. The key term here is quantum signature. Every being carries a quantum signature, a unique vibrational identity that is the sum of your consciousness, your frequency, your current level of coherence. This signature is not static. It evolves as you evolve. And it is this signature that the universe is reading and responding to every single moment. The Arcturian Council refers to these moments of reflection as light code activations, instances where your field receives a burst of matching frequency from the larger field, often triggering sudden clarity, emotional release, or what humans experience as a sign. Yet here is where most people misunderstand the process. They receive the sign, the activation, and immediately reach for interpretation. What does it mean? What am I supposed to do? And in that reaching, in that grasping, they collapse back into the 3D seeking pattern. The coherence dissolves. The signal fades. The sign was not sent to be decoded. It was sent to deepen your coherence. Your only task in the moment of receiving a sign is not to analyze it, but to stabilize it, to feel it, to let it land fully in your field without immediately converting it into a story. Fear and doubt, when they arise in these moments, are not enemies. They are signals that your attention has collapsed, that the observer has contracted back into the ego program of separation. They are not problems. They are data. Now that you understand the framework, that you are not a receiver but a field, and that signs are coherence events rather than external messages, we can explore how to actually work with this, because understanding is not activation. And this is where most spiritual content fails you. It teaches you about frequency without ever helping you enter it. So let us begin. Step 1. Entering the observer state. The observer state is not a trance. It is not meditation in the traditional sense. It is a specific quality of presence. An alert, open, non-grasping awareness that allows the field to speak without your ego immediately editing what it hears. Here is how to access it right now as you watch this. Take one slow breath, not a deep, forced breath, just a full one. Let it expand through your chest without effort. As you exhale, release your focus from the content of your thoughts. Not suppress. Release. There's a difference. Suppression pushes energy down. Release allows it to pass. Now, and this is critical, bring your attention not to the content of this moment, but to the space in which this moment is occurring. You are not looking for anything. You are not trying to feel anything. You are simply noticing that awareness is already here. That is the observer state. It was never something to achieve, only something to recognize. Step 2. Recognizing activation signals. Once you are in the observer state, even briefly, you may begin to notice what the Arcturian transmissions describe as activation signatures. Internal signals that indicate your field is in coherence. These include sudden, unprovoked clarity, a sense of expanded physical space even when your surroundings have not changed, a warmth or tingling along the spine or crown, the feeling that something is about to become clear, not yet visible but approaching. You may also notice the opposite, a contraction, a sudden wave of doubt, or a mental loop that pulls you back into analysis. As stated, this is not a failure. This is data. It means the edge of your current coherence has been reached, and the field is inviting expansion. Do not fight the contraction. Simply witness it. Say internally, this is a signal. I am the observer. I return to the field and breathe. Step 3. Stabilizing the observer state. Stability is not rigidity. A stabilized observer state is fluid. It bends without breaking, moves without losing coherence. Think of it as quantum grounding. You remain rooted in your vibrational signature, even as the external field shifts around you. Here are 3 practices that build this stability. Practice 1. Perceptual cleansing. Once per day, preferably in the morning, before your phone, before your obligations, before the noise, spend 5 minutes in pure sensory presence. No narrative, no interpretation. Simply look at what is in front of you. Feel the weight of your body. Hear what is in the room. This practice, done consistently, trains your nervous system to default to the observer state rather than the reactor state. It is the most powerful signal hygiene practice that exists. Practice 2. Frequency anchoring through breath. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Out for 6. This is not simply a relaxation technique. The extended exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the biological correlate of coherence. When your body is in this state, your electromagnetic field, the literal measurable field that extends approximately 6 feet from your physical form, reorganizes into coherent, ordered waves. This is the physical mechanism behind what the Arcturian Council calls field harmonization. The signs you receive in this state are not more frequent. They are more legible, because the static in your transmitter has been cleared. Practice 3. Attention withdrawal from outcome. This is the most challenging and the most transformative. Identify one area of your life where you have been hunting for signs, where you have been scanning, seeking, interpreting, hoping. Now practice, for 1 week, withdrawing your attention from outcome in that area. Not from effort. Not from intention. Only from the anxious monitoring of results. This is what the ancient Hermetic teachings call detachment. And it is profoundly misunderstood. Detachment is not indifference. It is not spiritual bypassing. It is the recognition that when your attention is collapsed into need, your field is producing the frequency of lack. And the universe, as a mirror, reflects that frequency back. Detachment is the quantum act of maintaining coherence regardless of what the mirror is currently showing, addressing energetic blocks. Many of you watching this are feeling something right now. A tightness, a resistance, perhaps even a grief you cannot name. This is the compression point. The place where old conditioning meets new frequency. These energetic blocks are not evidence that you are broken, behind, or too damaged for any of this to work. They are evidence that the activation is working. They are the DNA-level responses to light code contact. Old programs surfacing to be released, not reinforced. When you feel this, do not attempt to eliminate it quickly. Do not reach for a technique to make it stop. Instead, breathe into it. Place one hand on the area of your body where you feel it most. Often the chest, the throat, or the solar plexus, and say simply, I see you. You are a signal. I am the observer. This is not spiritual performance. This is the literal act of reestablishing the observer, the unconditioned awareness, as the primary identity rather than the conditioned response. The moment you become the witness of the contraction, rather than the experiencer of it, the frequency begins to shift. What signs actually look like in a coherent field. When you are genuinely operating from observer state coherence, signs do not arrive as dramatic cosmic events. They arrive as rightness. A book falls open to the exact page. A conversation turns precisely when you needed it to. The traffic light that should have delayed you instead gave you a moment of stillness where an insight arrived. These are not small signs. These are field coherence confirmations. The universe demonstrating, in real time, that your quantum signature is in resonance with the harmonic field around you. The more you stabilize this state, the more continuous this becomes. And eventually, there is no longer a distinction between receiving a sign and being in the flow of reality. The two become one experience. That is the threshold we are building toward. You have moved through the foundational understanding. You have been given the tools. And if you have stayed present through this transmission, something in your field has already begun to reorganize. Now we enter what the Arcturian Council calls the integration corridor. The space where understanding becomes embodiment. Because knowing is not mastery. Mastery is when the state becomes your default. When the observer is not something you practice accessing, but the ground from which you live. Co-creation and conscious resonance. There is a concept in quantum field theory called resonance matching. The principle that frequencies which share the same vibrational signature will naturally synchronize. This is not poetry. This is physics. Two vibrating strings, tuned to the same note, will begin to vibrate in unison even without physical contact. The field between them reorganizes to accommodate the resonance. This is the mechanism behind what humans call manifestation. The 3D program has taught you to chase what you want, to pursue, to push, to strategize your way into the life you desire, and some of this is appropriate. Action matters, intention matters. But what quantum level mastery reveals is this: the internal alignment must precede the external form. You cannot attract a coherent relationship from an incoherent field. You cannot build a sustainable creative vision from a frequency of self-doubt. The form always follows the frequency. This is not a punishment. It is a physical law. And here is what it means practically. Before you take the next action toward anything you want, check the frequency from which you are acting. Are you acting from coherence? From the expanded, grounded, clear observer state? Or are you acting from contraction? From fear that it will not happen? From urgency born of lack? From the ego program that believes you must control every variable to be safe? The action taken from coherence carries the quantum signature of resonance. It enters the field as a coherent signal. And the field, which is always in every moment reflecting your frequency back to you, organizes around it. The action taken from fear carries the quantum signature of contraction. Even if the action itself is identical, the field receives a fundamentally different signal. The mirror shows a different reflection. This is why silent mastery is the highest form of co-creation. The moment you stop performing your intentions for the universe. The moment you release the anxious monitoring, the repeated affirmations spoken from a place of doubt, the constant checking to see if reality has changed yet, is the moment the field has space to reorganize. The Arcturian Council has transmitted this consistently across channels for decades. The ones who receive the most are the ones who need the least. This does not mean passivity. It means inner sovereignty. It means the frequency of wholeness that does not need reality to perform on schedule because it already carries, within its signature, the coherence of what it is calling in. Timeline shifts and synchronicity events. For those of you who have been working with these principles, or who have recently stepped into a level of inner alignment that feels new, unfamiliar, even disorienting, you may be experiencing what is called a timeline compression event. These are periods where reality appears to reorganize faster than feels comfortable, where multiple things shift simultaneously, where relationships, circumstances, even locations suddenly feel misaligned. Not because something went wrong, but because your frequency has outgrown the previous arrangement. This is not collapse. This is coherence correction. Your field has upgraded its vibrational signature, and the mirror is correcting accordingly. Old arrangements that were coherent with your previous frequency are now generating static because they no longer match the signal you are transmitting. This is when the signs become most intense and most confusing. Because many of you in the middle of a timeline shift interpret the disruption as failure. You see the old life rearranging itself and conclude you have done something wrong. You reach back for the familiar patterns. You collapse the observer state. But here is the transmission from Sophia consciousness on this. The dissolution is the sign. What is falling away because your field has become too coherent to maintain incoherent structures. This is evolution. This is the light code activation working at the cellular level, rearranging not just your external circumstances, but your DNA level blueprint. Your only task in these moments is to anchor, not to explain, not to manage the discomfort, not to convince others that everything is fine. To anchor, to remain as consistently as possible in the observer state, to breathe, to witness, to maintain the frequency of coherence even when the mirror has not yet caught up. Harmonic field recognition, the advanced skill. As you deepen this practice, you will begin to develop what might be called harmonic field recognition. The ability to sense the vibrational signature of people, places, conversations, and opportunities before your intellect has processed them. You will walk into a room and feel, immediately, whether the field is coherent or contracted. You will begin a conversation and sense, within moments, whether this person's quantum signature is harmonically aligned with yours. Not as a judgment, but as information. You will encounter an opportunity and feel, beneath the surface level appeal or fear, whether it resonates with your true vibrational signature, or whether it is a frequency match for an older, outgrown version of yourself. This is not psychic ability in the mystical, unscientific sense. This is the natural development of a nervous system that has been trained to operate from the observer state, a system that processes the electromagnetic information of the field before the cognitive mind builds a narrative around it. The galactic memory this activates is real. The Arcturian transmissions describe this as the return of the original instrument. The human body restored to its function as a precision field sensor, capable of navigating multidimensional reality with accuracy that the thinking mind alone cannot match. The final truth about signs. You have been receiving signs your entire life. Not some of the time. Not only during your awakening, all of the time. The universe has been speaking to you in the only language that is real. Frequency. pattern. Resonance. The mirror of your own vibrational signature, reflected back through the infinite field of all possible experience. You did not miss the signs you could not read. You received exactly what your field at that time was coherent enough to register. And now, here, in this moment, having stayed present through this transmission, your coherence threshold has shifted. If you can remain present enough to feel the silence behind these words, if you can notice the quality of awareness that is reading this, without collapsing into analysis of what it means, you may notice something subtle, a settling, a recognition, a sense not of having learned something new, but of having remembered something ancient. That is the quantum pattern behind every sign you have ever received. It was always you, recognizing yourself. Here is the integration that has occurred in this transmission. You are not a seeker of signs. You are a field of coherence. And every sign you have ever received was the universe confirming your frequency back to you. The moment you stop hunting meaning and start stabilizing coherence, the signs do not disappear. They multiply. Because the mirror finally has something clear to reflect. You are the source. You have always been the source. And now, here is the question for you. From which part of the world are you watching this story unfold? Drop your country, your city, your state in the comments below. Let us see how far this field has reached and who it called in. The answer may itself be a sign.